Se supone sigue la transmisión, ¿verdad? Porque...
Ya está,
¿Ya?
ya está.
Ok.
Me oí yo.
Bueno, pregunta sería, ¿juego ese o intento regresar a Sly?
Este, ya estoy. Pues mira, yo diría que intentar regresar al like. Yo voto porque regresas.
Digo, o sea, es que ese juego también lo quiero jugar, pero
Pues mira, ayer te acabaste el de la vejita, tú te sabes que te acabas ayer.
pues puede ser también. Digo, no tengo mucho tiempo para desvelarme, pero bueno. Ok. Mm, Ahorita no puedo modificarle el... Hola, Azteca. No puedo modificarle el nombre, ¿verdad?
¿El stream?
Y sí, hasta que acabe. Ok. Ándale, ahora sí te escuchas. Bueno, en vista de que no se pudo Sly, ni el Nikki, bueno, el Nikki porque es en mantenimiento, Sly porque, pues no sé, por alguna razón, de repente el control dice, híjole, no quiero. Vamos a jugar este juego. Que no me acuerdo cómo se llama, pero yo ya lo he visto con varios youtubers y así, y siempre lo he querido jugar. Entonces, pues vamos a jugarlo. Yo, me gusta la radio salta para la computadora sea más visible. Yo tengo una maldición con el brillo de mi tele, así que pues toca soportar, ¿verdad? La hora son las... ¿De qué trata? Oh, pues ahorita ves. Ah, cabrón, la cagué. Ay, ay, ¿cómo le puedo hacer para que sea? No, es que tiene que ser las PM, ándale. Ahí está,
8:41, ¿no? Directamente.
ciudad. Moví mal la lengua y me lastimé. Qué pendeja. Pues, ok. Creo que se llamaba la parábola de Stanley, algo así. Es que no sé cómo se... em, no mames. No sé cómo se traduce parable. ¿Parábola? Oh, nice. Mm, idioma, ajá. Aunque todo esto no lo entiendo, así que vámonos ya a la chinga.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Ok,
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee
ok.
number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order.
¡Ah, qué
This is what
padrísimo!
employee 427 did
¿Qué pasó
every
con el otro
day,
juego? Valió madres.
every month of
Es que
every
no me
year.
escuchaba.
But
Apenas con
while
esto fue
others might
que
have considered it
logramos
so
hacer
meaningless, Stanley relished
que me
every
escuchara.
moment that the orders came in, as though he had
Ese güey
been
trabaja
made
como tú. Ándale.
exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Oh,
No, ya.
And then one day,
oye.
something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley.
¿A
Something he would
poco?
never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single
¿Ah?
order had arrived on the monitor
Hola,
for him
Raza.
to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Ok. Pues otro directo con lo mencionando. No lo sé. Algún día. Tengo que planearlo bien primero y luego ya. Mm, Ay, espero ver mis patas. Mi café. A lo mejor y sí, ¿no? A ver, voy a quedarme aquí parada. Y pues cuéntenme cómo les va. Está fresco, ¿no? Hepatitis me dan las patas. Mm.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
¿Tú qué sabes que a lo mejor los pobres se... A lo mejor se les apagó... No sé, se congeló la carretera y no pudieron llegar. Porque este güey no tiene compu. Ahí se lo puedo picar. Al tele. Aquí.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
¿Qué te importa, hombre? Yo quiero mover todo. Mm, Aquí. Ah, y pues es que hay que reducirla. No hay que gastar electricidad a lo güey, hombre. Chingada. Mira si les cae el papel. Mm, mm.
When
Chinga.
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ah, ese está, ¿no?
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
¿A
Perhaps he wanted
poco?
to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Sí, claro. Tengo que ver qué onda, qué show. Ese pendejo dejó prendida su compu, hombre. Chingado, están viendo. Sí, nada.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a
Sí.
few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Quiero una soda. No hay soda para mí.
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Claro. De esta manera me caían mal.
At this point, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Pero que ya. Ay, no, se ve bien tenebroso. Estás bien, güey. ¿Qué hay acá? Ay, está peor. Chinga. A ver, de Tin, Marín, de Doping, güey. Fúcara, mácara, títere fue. Yo no fui, fue Tete, pégale, pégale, que ese cochino marrano fue él. Ok.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
No, qué miedo. Cierra la puerta. Ándale, gracias. Ya lo siento hoy.
Yet there was not a single person here either.
Do
Feeling a
not
wave of
alter without
disbelief,
consulting
Stanley
whiteboard
decided to
manager.
go
Ah,
out to
ok.
his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Miren, Office Party. Weekly review. Ah, ok, ya entendí. Dije, pues, ¿de qué es esto? Pero ya, miren. Los lunes está lo de las metas de administración, la junta de los de IT, luego el review de la semana. Ah, espera, estaba leyendo mal. Eso sí, ya. Ok, esperen. Ahora sí ya. Ahora sí ya entendí. A las 9 de la mañana los lunes tenemos nuestro metas de la semana de administración. Luego, a las 10 se juntan los de marketing para tener su lunes de marketing. Luego hay un break. Luego hay ajá, el tiempo privado de mi jefe. Luego ah, un break. Luego el grupo 40 y luego el 45 y luego pues ahí está muy pequeño, no pueden escribir. Ok. Luego el martes, hasta las 10 empiezan las juntas para ver termination. Hmm. Supongo que para ver los proyectos finales, sí. La eficiencia de la oficina. Luego ven a los abogados. Luego un break. Y luego viene el grupo 41 y luego el 46 y otro break. Los miércoles empieza IT. Y luego hablamos sobre finanzas. Por eso dice we're broke, estamos quebrados, ¿no? Hablamos sobre las finanzas. Y luego después nos ponemos. O sea, primero somos realistas y decimos, güey, no hay dinero. Y luego en la siguiente junta nos ponemos como el capítulo de Betty la Fea en la de que estamos embargados. Así se entra en un pánico financiero. Luego llega el jefe a inspeccionar a ver qué pedo, o sea, porque está todo el desvergue. Y se toman un break. Luego llega el grupo 42, el 47, y se ponen a jugar un juego de 8 bits. Luego, como no sé qué significan mergers, yo supongo que es cuando vemos a los nuevos. Y luego tenemos una junta de ideas y cosas así. Hay desarrollo, porque ahora somos de videojuegos, por eso de repente nos da el Financial Panic, es normal. Llega el grupo 43, el 48, y vemos la preview del juego, claramente. Luego ahora sí, los viernes tenemos la review de la semana. Eh, le hablamos a todo el piso 5 para que venga a ¿qué era? Meeting, a junta. Y luego le hablamos al grupo 432 de la junta, y luego el 44, el 49. Y al final del día hacemos una fiesta, porque hay que acabar bien la semana e irnos con todo al fin de semana. Y luego aquí, pues miren, tenemos todas nuestras metas, tenemos nuestros diagramas, ¿verdad? De que a la verga, güey, no, estamos muy quebrados. Eso no lo vemos porque luego entramos en Financial Panic. No mamen. Sí, eso son los miércoles y hoy estamos domingo. O sea, hoy para empezar ni siquiera sé a qué vine a trabajar. Soy la pendeja que no le avisaron que siempre no íbamos a venir a trabajar el domingo. ¿Qué es esto? Sí, muchas cosas. ¡Ey! Ah, ok. O sea, tenemos una diapositiva de cuántas diapositivas hay en el grupo de diapositivas, lo cual está con madres. Qué bien pensado. Bien hecho, gente. Vámonos. Mejor equipo del mundo.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ok, yo subí nomás porque no quiero ir para abajo. Válgame. Ni la secretaria está. Chingada, todo el mundo se tomó el día menos yo. Oh, no mames, si se abrió. Oh, puedo ir a su pipí. Money. Maniga. Ok. Yo me quiero lavar las manos. Bueno, ni modo.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of
Espera.
course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
¿Sí, verdad?
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Guau. Está bien culero. Y Stanley se hizo en un rincón hasta que juntó hongos y se volvió uno con con el edificio. Fin. Dios.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did
Pues
he
vemos.
feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
A la verga.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Escape. Ok. Ay, no, se ve bien feo. No. ¿Qué tiene que me controlar en la mente? Ya después vemos qué pedo. Ay, acá está peor. Chingado. No es de miedo, ¿verdad? Se supone que no era de
The
miedo.
lights rose on an enormous
¡La
room packed
verga!
with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Y ponen Badapul. Ponen Badapul o me ponen el baile de Chicanoco por 10 horas.
Now
La
the
madre.
monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an
Ay, mira.
employee in the building, Stanley's
Despidieron a
co-workers.
uno.
The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley
Qué
was one
hueva
of
ser de
them,
los que cuidan esto,
eternally
¿eh?
monitored in this place where
Faltan 2
freedom
días.
meant nothing.
Se me ha olvidado, fíjate. ¿Qué número de empleado era yo? Bueno, no importa. No es como que voy a encontrar la pantalla realmente.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to
¿Está gratis el
accept
juego?
it
Sí, en los
blindly?
mensuales del Plus.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life
Bueno,
in
¿y si
someone
sí?
else's control.
¿Qué tiene? Le
Never.
pagaban por ir
It
a
was
hacerse pendejo todo el día. ¿Qué
Wasn't
bendición?
it? Was it even possible? Had he truly
O sea, y
spent
si
his
ya era feliz,
entire
pues,
life
pues ni modo.
utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking,
Ay, miren.
eating, working.
Es
All of it
Inside Out, de
monitored
aquí se
and commanded
inspiraron,
from
¿verdad?
this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life.
Ah, ¿neta?
For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
¿A poco? Padrísimo. Y me morí, ¿no? Despierto como en la
blackness,
Matrix.
and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
¿Sí?
Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been
No
freed from the
importa.
machine's
¿A quién le
grasp?
importa?
What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized
Exacto.
none of this
¿A quién le
mattered to
importa?
him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No
Oh.
longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel.
Avísame que me podía mover. Yo pensé que era una
Whatever
cinemática.
life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
¿Cuál, güey?
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon
Y yo,
his
no
skin,
puedo.
the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Guau. Ah, ¿y ya? ¿Lo acabé? ¿Peladísimo? Ajá. Ok. Pero ¿por qué tres notificaciones del mismo stream? Porque en el primero íbamos a jugar al Sly porque, bueno, todo el contexto de esta noche. Íbamos a jugar al Infinity Nikki, es el mantenimiento. Íbamos a jugar Sly, no me escuchaba. Lo intenté en 3 streams diferentes, no me escuchaba. Así que, me metí a este juego y ya funcionó.
All of
Okay.
his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps
Okay.
he had simply missed
Entonces,
a memo.
¿qué andan haciendo? ¿Jugando? Hola, Dracon. Ya sacamos el primer final, que supongo debe ser como un final bueno. Si no es que caí entre el control y todo fue una alucinación. Pero bueno. Ahora, güey, vamos a hacer unos rebeldes y no vamos a hacerle caso al güey.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
El primer final, ¿cuál fue?
Wow. Yes, this room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, gorgeous room. Thank goodness Stanley had taken this detour on his way to the meeting room. Life without
¿Cuál fue
having
el primer final?
experienced this room
Fui libre del
was now
control
too
mental y me
horrible
fui a la
even to
naturaleza.
consider.
Me pasó una mini desgracia. ¿Por qué? ¿Qué pasó? Ok, listo. Vámonos.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
His left is here, pero me are going to here.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
No mames. Pobrecito tu perro.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not.
Okay.
I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
¿Cómo que for? What are you talking about? Tienen secuestrados a mi
This is
esposa,
it,
hijos de
Stanley.
perra.
Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
¡Ah! ¡No mames!
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her.
Cabrón.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Ah,
Gotcha. Oh,
tiene
come
secuestrada a mi
on.
esposa, los
Did
hijos
you
de
actually
perra.
think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm
Ahora
trying to make
mierda.
a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Mm, mm, I don't know, me no confío en ti. Me hiciste una broma muy fea.
Sorry, but
Ay,
you're in
mierda,
my
asustas.
story now.
Chingada madre. Dejaron uno ser feliz. ¿Verdad,
This is a
vieja?
very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Oráculo. Oh, ¿me puedo agachar? Ok.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Ok. No creo. ¿Cuánto tendré que quedarme así sin hacer nada para que se enoje? ¿Creen que sí se enoje? Yo no sé, yo soy muy fitness, voy a hacer sentadillas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Look
¡Éale!
at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this
Me
life.
voy a bañar con ese uniforme. Muy bien. Lávate bien.
But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures.
Claro.
From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to
Vamos a ver anime.
fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
O sea, ¿cómo?
So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered
Salud.
what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Ah, cabrón.
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations.
¿Es esto? ¿Esto es una
Down one
imaginación mía?
path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
No manchen. Oigan, si estoy bien esquizofrénico, entonces,
But
¿no?
there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
No mames.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it. You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Ok. Ok. Bueno, entonces descubrimos que soy esquizofrénico. Es la parte más importante. A ver.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
A ver.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
No he entrado por la derecha, por la izquierda como me dice, ¿verdad? Pero también falta otra puerta ahí, donde estaba como un elevador. Chingado. Bueno, vamos por acá. Oh, no.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping he coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my
Ay, no mames, ahorita ni siquiera paso por lo del carro.
I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
Oh.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me Thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all
Okay.
very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Suena diálogo que diría alguien que está cayendo en la locura.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Okay.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
¿Eh?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself.
Vieron si esté bien esquizofrénico.
And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she
No
considered
puedes,
the
ya les
strange
pusieron
man.
muros para que no se esté
He
aventando
was
la gente.
obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel
Al
better.
final malo.
But
Me
then
hace
she
que sí, oye,
remembered
no
the meeting
manches.
she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Ok. Una reacción totalmente normal, claro. No llamar a la policía ni nada, solamente decir, ah, no mames, un muerto. Ok. A ver.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
A ver. A ver. Vamos otra vez a la puerta de la derecha.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
A ver.
The lounge was sublime, a work of art. What was it about? But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Y aquí. Ah, no, espera. Ya fui por allá, ¿verdad? Sí. ¿Por aquí?
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the
¿Eso ya?
fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you forgot. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important.
Ajá.
Stanley walked through the red door.
Soy esquizofrénico y daltónico, lo siento.
Aha, perhaps you
Ah, pinche
misunderstood.
joto.
Stanley walked through the red door.
Me gusta el azul.
I still don't think we're
Hijo de la
communicating
verga.
properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
Ludo.
All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find
Sí.
out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let
Sí.
me stop you. You see?
A la
There's
verdad.
nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was
Okay.
it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback.
Ok.
There we go.
Ah,
A
cabrón.
third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
No, ahora sí quiero ir por acá. Pinche joto.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
Supongo que 5 es muy bueno y 1...
Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really
Ok.
couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the
Ah, pues
data
el que
from
me
your
dio en la de
previous
esta
playthrough,
del...
I've
del
compiled a
jefe, pero no
new
me acuerdo cuál es.
version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Ok. ¡Hala! Nice, nice. ¿Algo bien? ¿Onto yo? Ah, ok. Gracias. Gracias por hacérmelo saber. ¿A poco? Nice. Bueno, pero ponle musiquita o algo, cabrón, así está bien X. A ver, ¿cuál otra vez? Y para la primera no me metí.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
Claro, claro.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now
A
would
ver.
be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In
Sí,
this game,
la
the baby
persona que
crawls
nosotros no
left towards
aprobamos.
danger. You click the button to move him back to the right. And if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice.
De hecho,
But
como
of course,
pequeño
the
contexto, Martín,
message of the
nosotros sí
game only
conocemos
becomes clear once you've been playing it for
ese
about
youtuber,
4
pero
hours.
nunca
So
estamos
why
de
don't
acuerdo
you
con
give it 4
sus
hours of
opiniones, la
play
verdad.
to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Ok. Ayer me aburrí.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me?
Porque
Because
me
if it's the
aburrí.
latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done.
Ok.
It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Ok.
Aha!
Ah,
Fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory?
de...
What is our
Hola, Ata.
motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a
Uy, cereal.
fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far,
Algo
I love
bien.
everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Sí, yo quiero ver, yo quiero ver. Wow. Está padrísimo. Uy. Ah, pensé que era un... pensé que era un hoyo. En el clima, eso es un favor, me traes agua tibiecita. Necesito enjuagarme, siento que se me fue comidita para el hoyito de mi muela. ¿Tú qué sabes que es el mismo creador, oye?
Oh, no, it can't
¿Qué?
be.
¿Qué pasó? ¿No vamos a ir a ver el bosque? Neta, no sabía. No, te digo que quién sabe si sean. A lo mejor y sí.
It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off.
¿Eh? ¿Por qué? No.
Thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call.
Ah.
You nearly wandered off into that thing. That big, open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're
Aw.
out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game.
No, yo
Preferably
quiero
something with walls.
ir.
Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls.
Ah, qué culo.
Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
Chingada madre. ¿Y ahora
Wonderful.
qué?
See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't
Okay.
any possibility that you could get lost
Parece.
here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage
¿Sí,
to
no?
get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
Sí, el...
Okay, so what
Rocket
exactly do
League.
we do here? Let's see.
¿Por qué?
There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no
Oh.
racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I
¿Qué
think
pedo?
it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a
Entonces el anterior
touchdown
sí era el juego
together.
ese del guardabosques.
Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Ok. Poing, 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 poing. ¿Ya se convertía en un auto? No, soy una persona corriendo
Are
pegándole a
you doing
una...
it?
Ah, sí,
Are
mira, ahí
you
está
winning?
Rocket
Is
League.
this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on?
Sí.
Stanley, I have a thought. And I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball.
Voy. Dame chance.
Yes. Oh, goodness, that really does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable.
¡Ah, no! ¡Mi
More
pelota! Quiero meter un gol.
balls.
Quiero meter un gol. Ah, no pasó nada. Oh.
Hold on. What are you doing?
Fue totalmente accidental. Perdón.
Stanley, don't do that. I can't
Perdón.
follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You
Perdón,
can't do
perdón.
it. You know
Fue
that,
sin querer,
don't
yo
you?
no me iba a ir a asomar. Ay, no. ¡Ay! ¡Puta madre! Avísenme que me tengo que asomar antes de tirar, de andar caminando por ahí. A ver. Mm, mm. ¿Sería en Portal? Puede ser que sí. Mm. No mames, te meas tú, me meo yo, nos meamos todos. Mm. Ah, ok, luz. Nice. Yo me dio miedo, así que no voy a ver por las ventanitas, ¿ok? Yo solo voy a ver hacia enfrente. Aquí no vamos a averiguar si... Ah, miren mi oficina. ¿Qué es esto? Qué raro. ¡Ah! No mames.
I wonder what he found. If what he
Nada.
wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me.
¿A
Someone who will
poco?
wrap everything up at the end to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The
I'll
end
be
will be
back.
here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
¿Sotrapa? ¿Qué es eso? ¿Qué? Ah, ya volví. Ok, nice.
All of his
Ah, cabrón.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley
Pero es
decided to
diferente,
go to
¿no?
the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Es diferente.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's
Creo que
office.
aquí arriba
Coming
había
to a
otra puerta.
staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Mm. Ah. ¿Qué pedo con esa imagen? Gracias. Ok. Algo tranqui, algo bien. Quiero mi referencia a Portal. Pues ahí está. La voz está tarareando. Ah, no mames. No. ¿Dónde no la veo? Con la musiquita, Martí. Bueno, dices Nike, ¿verdad? No, no lo digo yo. Ah, chingado.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly,
Ah,
by simply pushing random buttons
sí
on the
quiero ir porque
keypad,
según yo había otra
Stanley
puerta a la
happened
que
to
no entré.
input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Mm, sí. Esto sí se ve muy Portal, pero no estoy seguro. Ay, güey, me asusté. Ok.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that
Ah, sí,
read
esta, la de
Mind
escape.
Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Sí. Ok.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he
La
reflected
madre.
that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned
No,
and willingly
me
accepted
puedo
this
agachar.
violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Verga.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as
Eh,
Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him
eh,
instantly.
eh. Ok.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
What the fuck? Salud, ballena.
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
No mames. La oficina. Sonidos de botones. Los créditos. Pero no tiene 8. Thank you. Parece un museo. Wow. Anuncios de Ultra Deluxe. Aquí, mira. Anuncios de la Ultra Deluxe. ¿Qué pedo? Oigan, qué padrísimo está esto, ¿eh? Ah, miren, aquí están los varios finales. Wow. Este es el que gané ahorita, el final de la libertad. Wow. ¿Qué es esto, un menú extra? No sé. Se supone que, pues, me morí, pero... Wow. Se supone que me morí, pero terminé en el museo. ¡Qué bendición!
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not.
¿Qué
Sometimes
pedo?
these things cannot be
¿Se en el
seen.
infierno? Ninguno. ¡Ay!
Listen
¿Qué
to me.
pasó?
You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Turn off your PlayStation. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Ah, ¿qué pasó? Ni modo, corta el stream. Cabrón. ¿Qué pido?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Decía un calcomanía y sí. Contenido nuevo. ¿Qué pido?
the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Ok.
As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers.
Ajá.
After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers.
Ok.
The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over.
Ok.
Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley
Como el
Parable
maquete para
Ultra
pronunciar esos
Deluxe.
stickers que había en la oscuridad.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful.
Wow.
I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
¡Qué padrísimo! A ver.
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Mesmerizing.
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
En efecto, sí, le quité un juegazo. Casi siempre escojo juegazos.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if them... Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Ah.
All
Wow.
right. All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
¿Eh? Wow. Ajá. Vamos a acabarnos los saltos. ¿Eso quiere decir que me pone un juegazo? Shh. Eso nunca pasó, Martí. Es un efecto Mandela de tu cabeza. Ah. Ah, yo no puedo brincar. Bueno. ¿Y ya?
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
Lo siento, Martí. Me acabé los saltos.
Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say,
Perdón.
initial impressions of this game are not
No se
positive.
me ocurrió.
It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And if... Oh, wait. There's more.
Ah, ¿en serio?
Very good.
Nice.
Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Thank you for enjoying it.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar.
Espérate, pues,
And
no
don't
te
get me
paraste. ¿Y qué
started on the
saltos? Ya
level
no
of
hay.
craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's trophies, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test trophy, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Pues va. No es como que pueda hacer otra cosa. Ah, chinga, pero no estoy donde mismo. Cabrón.
Psst! Stanley! Come over here! In the vent! I want to show you something!
La curiosidad mató a Tay. Sí. No, Tay, no vayas. Muy tarde. Es una trampa. Y yo. No, no creo. Son amigables.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me
Sí.
thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So
Ok.
I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it.
Ok.
Just our little secret. Take a look.
Aló. A la verga. No mames.
I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the
Ay,
peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
qué bonito.
You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap PlayStation port? Remember
Oye.
back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
No manches. El primer dólar que ganó. No manches. Esto está bien bonito.
Je suis dans la memory zone.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com.
No las otras reviews son
James
todas
Stephanie
estas.
Sterling writes, and I quote, "We're so many
No
games
las
that
otras
aspire
review
to be
más que
more
esta.
than games end up less than any form of art. Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now
Tres.
it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
¿Qué pedo? Wow. Quiero ir abajo. No sé, fíjate. Wow.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and
La neta,
rewarding
la casa está
choices
hermosa.
I've ever been
Sí, la neta sí,
confronted
¿eh?
with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. All they had to do was transport it in pristine condition along to the PlayStation. Boom, done. And they couldn't even do that. Couldn't resist the urge to go meddling with a beloved franchise.
Es divertido porque los mismos desarrolladores están tirando mierda, ¿estás de acuerdo? Ay. Mm. ¿Para dónde voy? Yo creo para acá atrás, ¿no?
These were simpler times, Stanley. What I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh
Ay,
no,
no.
God no, Stanley. It's a collection of reviews from Pressurized Gas, the extremely popular online storefront for computer games. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Oh, no.
Sí, ese es tú.
No recomiendo.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Escucha una vaguira ronronía. Listo. Cabrón. Oh, no.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if
Poquito.
I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks are my otherwise unimpeachable track record.
Ay, no le cambio
I
las
feel
críticas.
like a failure. Like I let these
Oh.
people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered. What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button.
Yeah.
A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip
Pobre
ahead for
narrador.
just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt.
El pobre compa.
What if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record? Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto
La
today,
madre.
and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have. And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people.
Quiero
And if
saber
the
qué es
people
lo que
want
tiene que
silence,
decir.
then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. that the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say the story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So now you see, blah 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 blah.
Ya se empezó a repetir, ¿verdad?
We've eaten too much and it can't
Sí.
be just yet. No, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be.
Dale pues.
Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto.
A manifesto.
I'll outline it for you very briefly, and you can tell
Ya
me
soy
what you
malita,
think.
dame más agua.
Okay. So my theory is
Necesito
that
tomarme
any
mi
choice
pastilla.
you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are, or were, or will be at the time of
Sí,
having
es
made
cierto,
said
yo ni
choice.
cuenta, yo bien,
That is
bien,
to say,
bien
if
contenta
by
poniendo la
articulating
atención
a
de no
choice
mames,
you've
cuánta
already
razón
made,
tiene ese
you bring
güey.
that choice into being. Then by making no
Tiene
choice
su
and
boca
saying
llena de
nothing,
verdad.
are you not simply erecting in the sanctuary of time a monument to every person you've ever
A
been,
monument?
making
Monument?
every choice to which you've ever given your great gift of mortal and yet timeless thought? Or rather, do all of the choices you've ever made, in fact, make you more not this kind of person, and in fact do the very opposite? You see, it could in fact be both of these things at once. That you are both making choices and not making choices, and that they are both affecting you and not affecting you at the same time by virtue of the fact that you both are and are not making them. Okay, at first, I was leaning towards manifesto, but now I'm going to circle around and slap the treatise label on this one. I think it has
Okay.
much more of a treatise vibe to it. But wouldn't you
Vibe.
say that
Me
manifesto
hace
just has a
metamorfosis
much
para
grander sort of
Una yo-
tone? It has a mouthfeel that is rich with ambition and history.
La entonación parece inglesa, pero el lenguaje es americano, what the fuck. ¿Verdad que está bien raro eso? Porque suena que él puede decir a glass of water, pero a la vez dice water, entonces está raro.
For exactly this sort of situation, and I do find myself in this situation frequently. I'm going to say each word back and forth
Sí.
in repeated succession until I become
Es que
sick
estoy
of
haciendo
one or
cosas.
the other.
Estoy
In which
aprovechando
case,
para
the word
hacer
I am not
cosas.
sick of shall be the victor. It is an
Metamizol y
unimpeachable
paracetamol, uno y
strategy,
yo.
Stanley. It's
Es un
rescued
hombre
me from
con
disaster in
Is a
countless
distinguished gentleman.
situations. All right, here we go.
Ok.
Treatise, manifesto, treatise,
Manifesto.
treatise,
Manifesto.
treatise, manifesto,
Manifesto.
treatise, manifesto,
Quiero eso, güey. Me torno por los
manifesto,
mensajes. En
treatise,
inglés, es un inglés que vive en Estados Unidos. Ah, puede ser, puede ser.
manifesto, treatise, manifesto, treatise, manifesto.
¿Cuánto creen que dure haciendo eso?
Treatise, manifesto, treatise, manifesto, treatise, manifesto, treatise, manifesto, treatise, manifesto, treatise, manifesto, treatise, manifesto.
Procede a hacer stream de 10 horas, pero con el güey diciendo Treaches Manifesto.
Manifesto, treatise,
Treaches,
manifesto, treatise,
Treaches,
manifesto.
Manifesto. Es que dice manifesto bien padrísimo.
Treatise, manifesto,
Me encanta.
treatise, manifesto, treatise, manifesto, treatise, manifesto, treatise.
No, Tay, por favor. Soporta, soporta porque tenemos que averiguar si se puede quedar ahí toda la vida. Déjenme, ustedes siguen escuchando el Treaties Manifesto en lo que me tomo la pastilla para que no me duela
Treatise,
mi hoyito que me quedó por la sacada de muela.
Treatise, manifesto, treatise, manifesto, treatise, manifesto, treatise, manifesto, treatise, manifesto,
Empezó a cambiar el tono.
Manifesto. Treatise.
Pastillas para alcohólicos. No,
Manifesto.
porque acuérdate que
Treatise.
antier me sacaron una muela.
Manifesto.
Ah, no, fue ayer.
Treatise.
Ayer me sacaron una muela
Treatise.
y la neta todavía me duele.
Treatise. Manifesto. Treatise. Manifesto. Treatise. Manifesto. Treatise. Manifesto.
Ya cambió un poquito el tono, pero sí cambió.
Manifesto. Treatise. Manifesto. Treatise. Manifesto. Treatise.
Sí.
Manifesto. Treatise. Manifesto. Treatise. Manifesto. Treatise. Manifesto.
Eso uno alucina pensando que el narrador realmente se está fastidiando de hacer treatise manifesto.
Manifesto. Treatise. Manifesto. Treatise. Manifesto.
Oigan, denme chance, voy a aprovechar y voy rápido a hacer pipí. Si está cambiando, ¿viste? Eso, todos estamos alisonando lo mismo, pero eso ya también está ahí como ya aburriéndose. A ver, Leslie, te encargo tantito la audiencia. Tengo que ir al baño.
Treatise. Manifesto. 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 Treatise. Manifesto.
Y ahora yo me quedé aquí.
Manifesto. Treatise. 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 Manifesto. Treatise.
Juraría que cambia el tono, pero regresa.
Treatise. Manifesto. Treatise. Manifesto. Treatise. Manifesto. Treatise. Manifesto. Treatise. Manifesto. Treatise.
No cambia.
Manifesto. Treatise. Manifesto. Treatise. Manifesto. Treatise. Manifesto. Treatise. Manifesto. Treatise. Manifesto. Treatise. Manifesto.
Ya volví, ya volví.
Treatise. Manifesto.
Ay,
Treatise.
ya volví.
Manifesto.
Ya, pueden dejar de extrañarme.
Treatise. Manifesto.
Ok, listo ya.
Treatise. Manifesto.
Ya estuvo suave.
Well, there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's
Ensimismamiento.
right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. I can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this.
Cookie
and whether
9?
they'll edit the rating of their pressurized gas review, or at least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place. I guess I should become better educated on how exactly pressurized gas works. Perhaps that would have been a smart thing to check on before I went on about this whole exercise of making the skip button. Although I have to imagine that after seeing this exciting new technology at work, surely whoever it is who runs pressurized gas will instantly run out and implement a new feature to make it possible to edit one's review merely because of this very situation. Yes, I think that's quite likely. Or perhaps they'll simply grant this particular user the ability
Ajá.
to change their review so that the feature is not widely abused. Look, I would even be okay with pressurized gas altering this particular review so that it reads as something more beneficial. Something along the lines of, this game is the best game. Let me start over. How about this? From the ashes of depravity rises the phoenix of quality.
Amigo. Narrador. Chinga. Ya no está. Carnal. Ábreme la puerta aunque sea.
Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's
La
not
madre.
unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again. I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait, how do we get out of here? Where did the
Exacto.
door go? Wasn't there a door that led into this room? I do feel quite certain that there was one here before. How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter a room without a door of some sort, or a window or something like that. Do you see a window anywhere? A porthole? A sufficiently
No.
large crack in the wall? I'll take any of these. All I want is for us to move on and to please step away from the skip button to go anywhere other than the skip button. There was a door here before, wasn't there? I swear there was. Where did it go? Can you maybe just ram your way through a wall? Is there
Lo
any
puedo intentar.
possibility that you could, say, slam your body into the wall until enough damage is done for you to be able to leave? Please, I'll take any option at all. I'm asking you to work with me here. We need a door. We need a door of some kind. I can work with any kind of door as long as it can open and lead from one room to another. I'm going to step away for just a moment, and I'm going to try to find us a door. I
Ok.
don't know how exactly to remove a door and place it in a different wall, but I will find a way, I promise. You just
Ok.
need to not do anything. Don't press the skip button. Please,
Ok.
please, please do not press the skip button. Just
Ok.
wait here for me, and don't press the skip button.
Ok.
Got it? Yes, good. I'll be right back.
Ok. Estoy siendo obediente. ¿Creen que se vaya a tardar mucho? Digo que no. No debe ser difícil encontrar una puerta y ponerla, ¿no? Digo, antes lo hizo cuando la puerta roja. Mm. No, pues está fresco, ¿verdad? Este. No, pues había una vez un barco chiquito que no podía navegar. Lo intentaba y no podía navegar. porque estaba muy chiquito. Y también había una vez un chorrito que se hacía grandote y se hacía chiquito. Pero creo que estaba enojado, estaba de malas, algo así, porque tenía calor el güey. Cosa rara porque pues es un chorrito, ¿cómo va a tener cómo va a tener calor? Pero nosotros quiénes somos para juzgar a la gente. Sí, sí, sí. Bueno, los chorritos sí es cierto. Este, ¿creen que se vaya a tardar mucho este güey? ¿O le picamos? Ya le piqué.
Stanley!
¿Qué?
Stanley!
¿Qué?
Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours.
No mames.
You've just been frozen there. I don't
¿Pero y
know
mi
why the
puerta?
skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those
No
walls
mames, sí es
1,000
cierto,
times,
¿eh?
and there's no door, Stanley. There's
No
no
mames.
door. There's just you and the button, and if you keep pressing it, I have no idea what will happen. I have
Okay.
no idea how long I'll be made to sit here, and more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. I can't
Pues es que
control
me
anything in
aburro.
this room, Stanley. I can't touch it, and I have to believe. I have to know that sooner or later, no matter how much I plead with you, you're going to press the button again. Why would you? I've been thinking and thinking, and I don't know what I can do to convince you otherwise. Oh, my God. And it's all because of those reviews. Those reviews that I couldn't get out of my head. I just couldn't ignore the negative feedback. Why was it so important for me to fix the problem? Why did Cookie Nine's opinion matter so much to
Cookie
me? I've
Nine.
never even met Cookie Nine. I have no idea who they are. What would it ever really matter? But
O
here
sea,
I
está
am.
chido eso que
I'm
está haciendo porque
fixating on
puede ayudar a
every
muchos
tiny
creadores de
negative thing that
contenido que no le
anyone
den
ever says
importancia
about
a
me.
los
The merest
a lo
mention of one
negativo,
of my
perdón.
imperfections, and I become as impetulant as a child, wild and impulsive. I can't help myself. I can't stop myself from lashing out with a vengeful fury to alter and to change and to break anything unbroken, if only it pleases this one person who made a single negative comment. What does such an impulse serve? For whose benefit is this? And here I am now, stuck in a room, waiting for you to press this button, and to become frozen in time, knowing that you're going to do it, and that I'm going to be stuck all alone, and that I have the power
Ay.
to prevent it all from happening, if only I'd held my tongue.
Esto que están viendo es
It's all
como
out
mi
of my
pop de cuando
control
estoy
now.
pensando, porque
Just
usualmente
you.
cuando pienso y hablo
Just
sola,
your decision
empiezo a caminar
as
dando
to
vueltas así
exactly when you're going to make me suffer, to leave me all alone. Surely you will.
y viendo
I
el
don't
piso, o sea,
doubt
no creen
it.
que viendo alrededor, al
Surely
piso.
you'll press that
Esto
button
sería
again, leaving me
como,
here. And surely
como
you'll put
sentirse
your
Tay
own
cuando se pone a pensar.
desire to see what's next ahead of my need for company, for companionship. Surely you'll not be moved by my howls of fitful anxiety, that you sit with me and just stay here. Oh, no, 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 I know you too well. You'll be leaving me. Oh, my God. And it's all because of those reviews that I couldn't get out of my head. I just
Ah,
couldn't
ya se repitió.
ignore the negative feedback. Why was it so... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my
No mames.
goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week.
No
Or
mames.
2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because
Okay.
I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening. I needed there to be a vessel through which my words were moving. It was the vessel I needed, Stanley. Not the outcomes, not the story. None of that matters anymore. I'll give it all up. I'll give up every branching path. I'll burn my story to the ground. One single thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything, is to know that someone else is taking it in. These words that I'm saying, I need to know you can hear me. Because maybe, Stanley, maybe, if you can hear me, then maybe it means I'm real.
Wow.
Maybe I'm not just a fiction. Was I scared of that all along? Perhaps. Yes. Perhaps I've been scared this whole time, that if I stop speaking, I'll slip backwards into the silence and be consumed by it. I can't be taken by it, Stanley. I can't lose myself in the stretch of emptiness between you and me. When you press that button, you're still right there, but I know you're so tremendously far away. And in those moments, the emptiness folds itself outward in between the two of us. And I am suspended in its unyielding quietness. I can feel the edges of my reality curdling inward and decaying. I can tell that I am becoming less and less real. Yet to speak to you now, I am alive. I am truly and completely here. I am a being. I am someone. I am something. I am being listened to. I am being recognized. The emptiness between us has collapsed, and I feel right now like I am not a work of fiction. I feel as though I occupy space in this world again, and I have cast a shadow onto the wall. You see what I'm saying, don't you? You can see what this means to me. I'm so clear about it now, Stanley. I feel as certain about this as I've ever felt about anything at all. I feel renewed. I feel restored, and already I can sense the looming silence as you will press the button for the next time. What a terrible dread it strokes in my heart to think of it, to think of returning to such coldness. Come, let us sit in silence together here for just a moment. Let us anticipate it. Let us welcome it. Let us not run from it.
Ok. Es el botón, ¿no?
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one
No
entire year?
manches.
Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past. And when that feeling had begun to subside, what took its place is what I can only describe as the collapse of every moment I have ever experienced my entire life. All of them collapsed down into a single instant. In that instant, I could see myself clearly, calmly, with a collected heart. It was an impossibly rich wellspring of both delight and disgust.
Mira, te voy a skipear, pero porque ya quiero irme. Ya no hay botón. Ya no hay narrador. A ver. Ah, mira.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition.
Okay.
But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability, it's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a review. So here's what we get. We get these demands that seek everything and are accountable to nothing. We get a world where someone will say, oh, there should be a skip button. You should be able to freeze Stanley in place while the narrator sits there forever and ever. We want all of this in the new Stanley Parable. We demand it. And then, because it was said, because it was spoken, now it simply has to happen. The most immediate desires, every single thing demanded by every person at every moment in time. If someone wants it, then it's a crime not to bring it into being. Have we been
Ok.
given to indulging every fleeting whim for no reason other than to do so? Yes! Yes! It seems that this is now the world we live in. It seems that we are a people living in such bleakness and discomfort with ourselves that our entertainment is now our
O sea, sí,
lives.
qué triste, güey,
It
pero
has
ya me
come to
quiero ir.
represent us in
Cabrón, ¿estás vivo? Creo que no.
The end is never the end, 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 is never the end,
Ay,
is never
goteras.
the end, is never 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 the end, is never.
¿Hay un hoyo? ¿Algo? ¿No? ¿Dónde me puedo ir? Ah, o sea, si hay un hoyo, pero no por el que me pueda ir. Ah, padrísimo. Pero aún no puedo salir. Chingada madre. Va, ok. Hay un bonito paisaje. Ah, ya no hay nada. Todavía no hay por dónde irnos. A la chingada. Oh, sí, por fin. A la verga, no hay nada, güey. Wow. Ok. Ah, nice. Y ya, volvemos al inicio. Ok.
Already this was uncomfortable, and Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life.
Ok. Ya no volvemos a la normalidad del todo, ¿eh? New content. Okay.
Oh, good. You notice my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Okay.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
Okay.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly port with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
Okay.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
A la madre.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Okay.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Jim.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this
Me llamo
feature.
Jim.
Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim.
Okay.
I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so,
Jim.
Yes! You see? What a thrill! What a rush! That was you! The button
Wow.
described you. Do it again. Do it again.
Okay, okay.
Jim.
Woo.
It hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the gym button. I'm too
Okay.
emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
Supongo que ahora puedo regresar así.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature.
La mercancía. ¿Se enojará? ¿Lo detectará para empezar? A ver. ¿Dónde decirle el please no screenshot? Aquí vean. Ah. Hubiera estado chido. No, todavía no voy a ir al epílogo. Todavía no termino de ver las cosas aquí.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Este. Este.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted
¿Cuál es
all
la Get Well
along.
Someday?
Get Well Someday it is.
Okay.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision. We're moving on.
De Jump Circle.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle?
Sí.
Oh, well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
Okay. Coleccionable.
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
Okay. Woohoo! Okay.
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Ay, quiero ir al hoyo infinito. Por aquí acá. A ver.
Now, here's something special. You remember that broken test trophy that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the trophy. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it... Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, The trophy is still fully broken. I'm not a
Oh.
wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last
Okay.
satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Ah, bueno.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Esto. Que no sé si es por aquí. No.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is, in fact, a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
No quiero caer por todos los tiempos, gracias. Ya lo vi, ya me voy. Pues ya vi todo. Ahí está la salida.
Oh, goodness, Stanley, this is fairly awkward. I
¿Qué?
hate to do this, but before you leave, you really should go to the
Ah,
bucket
sí,
exhibit.
cierto, esa falta,
You see,
esa falta.
there's a surprise I was going to spring on you later, and it involves the bucket. And I
Ah,
really
okay.
do hate to break the illusion, but it's important that you go see the bucket, okay? All right,
Okay.
I'll get out of your hair now.
Es que yo pensaba que de que habíamos venido, una disculpa.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as
Okay.
you hold onto the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may
Wow.
even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on,
Sí,
give it a
tiene
try.
razón. Ok.
Can you feel it? The glow of
¡Qué perro
comfort,
miedo!
even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding
Soy una
it
chica
has made
linda.
you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
¿Y te imaginas que si lo terminen haciendo que parezca un chiste de este juego, pero de repente hacen como que, jaja, aquí está?
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Y de repente me avienta agua, ¿no?
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment.
Okay.
I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. Well, I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2." Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Ok. Se ve nice, se ve nice. Así se mueve. A ver.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building
Ajá, tiene el
where he
botón
was
de skip.
employee number
Están los globos.
427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his
Sí me
wits
sigo
and
yendo, ¿verdad?
regained his
No.
senses, he got up from
No,
his
esa es la
desk
chingada.
and
Y yo acá
stepped out
hablando
of his
sola
office.
y todos viendo el gameplay con cara de ¡ábrale, padrísimo! ¡Ay, los
All of
globitos!
his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
¿Qué? Ah, sí, sí. Yo creo que si hablo para checar si me oigo estaría súper cool, ¿verdad? Padrísimo que estaría eso. A ver. ¿Sí? Ok, perfecto. Ah, la cubeta.
Stanley picked up the bucket.
Hmm, curioso. Muy curioso. Ok.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Ok, vamos a hacerle caso. Quiero saber qué.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
¡Oh!
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Ok. Sí, ya no hice lo de dinero en la mañana, dinero en la tarde y dinero para cenar.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any
Era
human life.
2.
Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire, if not for the soothing... But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley figs? Or what about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Ok.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket.
Si no
Soothing
fuera por...
him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The
Ok.
bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Ok.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Es que cuenta que no lo iba a alterar mucho, solamente
On an
iba
enormous room
a agregar
packed with television
sus
screens.
mejoras.
What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley
Pensaron
and the
en...
bucket both wondered to themselves.
Mi mejor amigo el balde.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Shh, tranquilo, balde, tranquilo.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except
Excepto en el
the
ballet.
bucket.
Ok. El ballet, mi mejor amigo.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley
Eso que estaba
decided that
checando a ver
this
si estaba aquí.
machinery would never again exert its terrible power over
Que lo haya
another
puesto en
human
alguna de
life.
las de estas donde
For
te puedes
he and the
desviar, ¿no?
bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system. When at last they came to the source of the room's power, Stanley and the bucket knew it was their obligation to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done
Wow.
it. Stanley and the bucket had
habían
defeated
logrado.
their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate.
Okay.
Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support.
¿Pasó?
What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in
¿Qué
uncertainty,
pasó?
until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No, no, no. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be
Sí.
okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
¿Y ya? Ok. Pero siguen los globos.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Pero
No
¿por
matter
qué?
how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of
Los
his
globos ahorita,
co-workers.
cuando recién empecé a jugar, no estaban, ¿no? ¿Qué pedo? Figurín Finders de Committee. Ahí está el balde. ¿Dónde? Ah, sí, es cierto. Mm.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room,
Aquí no puso
Stanley for the
globito.
first time understood true happiness. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Ok.
But
Debí traerme
Stanley
mi
didn't
cubeta.
want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left.
Ok.
Oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake.
Ok.
No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
Ok.
Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Ok. Seguro. Va. ¿No?
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time,
Okay.
suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
Ok. Tremendo spoiler me comí.
All of
Y ahora
his
sí ya no
co-workers
están
were gone.
los
What could it mean?
los
Stanley
globos.
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
¡Qué loco! Ah, pero ya no va a estar mi cubeta. No, ya no está mi amigo la cubeta. Mm. ¡Qué loco! Ah,
When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear, I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you
no.
move the story somewhere, or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Ok. Vamos por acá. Ahí no, ahí me da miedo. Sí, no manches.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Ok. Allá vamos.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
No.
Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Ok.
Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait, never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps. Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in
Éale.
a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job.
Gracias.
Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
Ok.
All right, I've got a solution.
Ah, mira.
This time, to make sure
Dos.
we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
Y es amarilla. ¿Qué pido?
You see? The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a
Cabrón.
destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
Madre. Qué buena canción.
Wait, cut the music. Go back and look at that fern.
Sí, el cabello amarillo. ¿Qué tiene?
Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story.
Okay.
Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully.
Okay,
You won't
tomen
want to miss
screenshot.
anything. Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell? Oh, no, not again, Line. How could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
Ok. Ok. Ah, cabrón. El compa está tan enojado que ya ni siquiera quiere narrar.
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something
Okay.
exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Ok.
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it. Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine. Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here.
Okay.
Just walk in circles for a minute.
Okay.
Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads
Yo
here.
ahí pensando.
And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's
La verga, ya me
origin.
mareé.
So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come,
Claro.
Stanley, our destiny awaits. Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story. Wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you...
Ah, otra vez están. Ay, no, ya. Voy a dejar hasta aquí el stream porque si no aquí me voy a quedar toda la pinche noche y yo mañana tengo que chambear.
Even now, Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did it look like? There was a computer, perhaps, and a painting. Was it a painting or a photo?
Ok,
He could no longer recall.
sí, ya, X. Aquí ya voy a dejar este stream. Está muy bueno el juego, no pensé que fuera así. Pues ni modo. Ahí algún día lo volveremos a jugar. Oigan, es que sí pues es que está padre, tiene muchas cosas. Alimenta mi curiosidad. Pero bueno, chicos, descansen, sueñen muy bonito. Muchas gracias a todos los que vinieron. Disculpen los primeros como 3 streams que no funcionaron. Pero pues ya funcionó. Así que nos vemos a la siguiente. Descansen, cuídense mucho. Bye.